And we're back with our video sit-downs. This is Diedrich Allen off camera. On camera, Terri Jeffreys. She's running for Mason County Commissioner. This is District 3, correct?
Correct.
Correct. And you prefer an independent party?
Correct.
All right. So we'll first take a couple of minutes to briefly tell everybody about yourself, background, and why you're seeking re-election.
Okay. I was elected to serve the 3rd District voters in November of 2012. I was elected to fill a 2-year vacancy, left vacant by a death of a former commissioner. So I am back for re-election after almost 17 months in office. My background includes my husband and I own a water sewer management company. We also, prior to that, I was the Chamber of Commerce Executive Director for Shelton Mason County Chamber of Commerce, and then I was the Government Affairs Director for Local Government Affairs for the Association of Realtors, as well as their Tax and Fiscal Policy Director in later years, working at the state level in tax and fiscal policy. And then many, many jobs prior to that. One of the toughest jobs I ever had was sales and marketing for the Alderbrook Resort. So I've been both in the private and public sector.
Terri, since taking office, what has been accomplished? And I know there's a lot.
We have done a lot in 17 months. So probably the thing I'm most proud of is for the first time since 2001, we have all 11 contracts that the Mason County employees, all their bargaining units, all of them are under contract. And we were able to accomplish that through parity across all bargaining units for represented and non-represented, which I think was very important because so many folks had been piecemealed in their labor negotiations, and we wanted very much to have across-the-board equality on the health care coverage as well as our cost of living adjustments. There's so much more we would do, but within our finite resources, of course, that's what we had to do, that was as much as we could do. We also had some out-of-the-box thinking that brought in $1.25 million in timber sale revenues, and then we leased some properties, some tidelands for geoduck farming, which should, over about a 7-year period, bring about $3.5 million to the county. So looking at different ways to bring in revenues to the county. We also did pass some zoning laws to be more proactive regarding medical marijuana as well as recreational marijuana. This is kind of a brave new world we're in. So that's been a little bit contentious, and it's a little bit tricky to see how this is all going to work out. We've also managed to get some projects done in our facilities. We're looking at building a new court space for our 3rd Superior Court. We got some legislation passed to offer a property tax incentive for affordable housing, and then also made some changes to the Lake Management District law to allow the people in Lake Nowatzel to preserve lands adjacent to the lake. And I could go on, but we'll stop right there.
Those are the major ones. Well, what would you like to see accomplished in the next 4 years?
So we have, my priority for Mason County is to create a business environment that allows and invites mostly retail development. We would love to see a lot of manufacturing development and jobs coming to Mason County, but I think that one of the things that we've noticed the most in our revenues is that so much of our sales tax is leaking out of the county because we just don't have enough retail development to serve county residents. And that has a lot to do with our zoning and our land use applications and the infrastructure available. We are going to be launching our 10-year update of our comprehensive plan. This will give us an opportunity to look at how are our land use policies attracting retail development. Government doesn't create jobs, but government creates the atmosphere for commercial development and manufacturing development. We will be, we're doing some feasibility work on looking at adding industrial lands to the county, unincorporated urban growth area on Dayton Airport Road, next to between the Washington Corrections Center and the State Patrol facility. I believe that's probably going to be so necessary in that it's already served by water and sewer and transportation. The majority of our industrial lands in the Shelton Urban Growth Area on Johns Prairie Road, which are very, very much constrained by poor transportation options for freight mobility. And so we felt it's necessary to maybe look at another area of the county that would be served by the type of infrastructure, especially transportation, that will be necessary to be competitive. The Holy Grail is to have freight mobility and easy access to the I-5 corridor. And, granted, we are a ways away from the I-5 corridor, so Highway 101 is probably our best bet to be able to get that freight, that as well as some of our rail spurs, to get the product to market.
So public safety is always a priority.
Yes.
How do you plan to continue making sure there are funds in the budget to maintain our sheriff's deputies, jail, and courts?
Right. So, again, I think a county commissioner's most difficult position is to balance competing priorities within our finite resources, and it's a constant balancing act. Our public safety we have increased the budget over the years on a regular basis to the point that other types of services are starting to feel the effects. So we have to make sure that we are investing our public safety dollars in the right places. And to that end, we felt it was important to get the citizens' input on that and formed a citizens task force on public safety and criminal justice. And we asked them to take a look at the amount of resources we are devoting. Is it enough? Is it being put in the right places? That group is a very intelligent group of people with experience in public safety and criminal justice, as well as citizens at large who have a deep interest in the safety of our community. Looking forward to some recommendations coming from them after they've taken a look at this. And because we are asked to make competing priorities that are brought to us by the independently elected officials in criminal justice and public safety, we want the squeaky wheel getting all the grease and take a look at it from the citizens' perspective and people that have been in that position but don't have necessarily a lot at stake immediately by being in that position now. I believe there might be some room, and I'd like to I'm hoping that the Commission will take a look at some of the voter-approved funding opportunities there are. We have a couple of them available to us that we haven't used, a public safety sales tax as well as a criminal justice property tax. Now, I know that Mason County voters, we've heard, are not interested in having their taxes raised, but I don't feel like we've been out to the voters to ask them that question. So I would very much support at least going to the voters and saying, is this important enough that you'd be willing to raise your own taxes?
Economic development, creating jobs, and attracting industry and business are also priorities.
Yes.
Do you have a plan to create jobs and attract business to the county? And can you summarize that plan?
Okay, so I just want to make it clear that businesses do not create jobs. Governments do not create jobs, businesses create jobs. We set the stage, and that is an infrastructure, land use policy. As I've said many times, underneath it all is the land. Is it zoned right? Is it in the right place that allows the commercial development and the industrial development? And so my role and my hope is to make sure that we've done an adequate review of that. And for instance, this 400 acres that we're looking to rezone to industrial, I think, would be a perfect example of creating the stage for manufacturing. Of course, we support the Economic Development Council to the tune of $68,000 a year, and I would like to make sure that we are proactively partnering with them, or at least we know what they're doing with that money in a proactive recruitment way. We can set the stage on the policy side. I would like our Economic Development Council to be proactively recruiting, especially retail. As I said, retail and development I think is very important because when you are looking to site your business in places, you're looking for a multitude of things, and one of them is what is available there already, amenities and things that would attract a workforce. Workforce development is also a very, very important piece. We have a Workforce Development Council. We have 3 representatives from the community who sit on that council. I would, we need to be more proactive with those representatives to make sure that our workforce training dollars are being used in the right place here in Mason County. I'll be honest with you, there are jobs out there. we just don't necessarily have people trained for them or able to be qualified for them. We have a tremendous number of county jobs available that we are having difficulty getting filled because of lack of training and lack of preparedness for these types of jobs. And of course, these are in the criminal justice fields.
Certainly, there's been a lot of talk about attracting business and industry without consideration. That's without consideration for the environment. How will you account for the environment while stimulating the economy?
Okay, so I think there's always consideration for the environment, and that consideration is inherent in the process, in that we have development codes that are written in order to mitigate environmental degradation. We have state laws and shoreline master plans and lots of permitting processes at the state level as well as the county level designed to mitigate against environmental degradation. We have standards, really high standards at the state level of no net loss of ecological functions and values for our wetlands and for our critical aquifers and for, well, we don't have a no net loss on critical aquifer, but we do have a charge to protect them, and, as well as our shorelines. So there are a lot of policies in place and rules in place, and we are not the scientists. The scientists are at the state agency level, at the federal level, that pass down the standards that we have to incorporate into our land use and development codes. If people think we need to go above and beyond, we need to see really good science, and that is the most difficult thing, is to be able to compare different sciences, which is why we use our state and federal agencies to do that level of work and to review all the science. Is it adequate?
Okay, Terri, that's all that we had for you.
Okay.
Thank you for taking some time to talk to us. Terri Jeffreys, independent candidate for Mason County Commissioner, District 3, the incumbent. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you, Diedrich.